there. Thank you so much for joining in today. I'm really excited to show you what we've been up to the last few months. It's been quite a journey, let me tell you, but we've learned a ton and I can't wait to show you. I'm not presenting alone today. I'm joined by some spooky friends. Let's jump right in. So, if you don't know me, my name is Ramon. I live in Vienna, in Austria. I've been freelancing as a software developer, doing a little bit of a lot. Some web, some native, some mobile. So lots of Ruby, lots of JavaScript. More recently, I've been learning Rust and having a ton of fun doing that. And I've also been a member for the last 2 years of the Mozilla Tech Speakers community. And now it's more of an unofficial one since Mozilla put a pause on the program. But it's just really great to have this collective of enthusiasts for things like the open web get together and share their experiences. As you can tell, I really like communities in general. I think there's something really empowering about people sharing their passions, sharing their knowledge, teaching, learning by teaching, teaching by learning. Yeah, sure. Getting together and having a good time while sharing and learning. So what we've been doing for the last 6 years, amongst other things, is running what we call a coding study group. So if you don't know what a coding study group is, thing about it is that's what we call it. But it kind of comes with a lot of different names. There's things that I've seen like a hack and learn, a coffee and code, learn together, code together, study together. There's a whole mess of them. And they're pretty common around the world, I've found. And what it is the opportunity for people to get together, kind of like a meetup, but a more coding, active coding focus, in that instead of listening to talks being the only emphasis, there's also things like getting together, bringing our laptops, working on side projects, maybe doing little workshops for each other, practicing our talks. There are talks involved, doing some show and tell. Sometimes people will come in who've never coded before. They're very welcome and wanting to learn something. And we've got volunteers or attendees who want to volunteer and, just want to share their knowledge and introduce this person to coding. Maybe people with lots of experience come in to learn something completely new. There's a lot of variety that's adaptable to it. So what we've had in Vienna, we call study jams. If you're curious, our URL is study-jams.github.io. And as you can read here, it's a coding community in Vienna for all who wish to join. As I said before, no matter your skill level, no matter your programming language, it's open for everyone. So what you see here is a picture of what a typical study jam session would look like. A couple of people bring their laptops, have a coffee, have a tea, some fruit, some cookies, whatever you like, and code away, chat a little bit, study a little bit, just learn together. Some people will bring their headphones and just enjoy being around other people as they do their coding. This is not the only one that I've attended. There's also one that I lately started attending a few events. It's called the Berliner's Rust Hack and Learn, and I learned a lot from them. I'm really grateful for what they've been doing the last few months. They've been running regularly, and it's been really awesome. So, and they've been doing it online too. So, about online. When a lot of places started locking down and meetups had to make some decisions. Do we keep going online? Do we do do we just take a pause and come back a few months later, see how things are? And what we decided to do for study jams was, like the hack and learn, as I'll call it from here on out, is to keep going online. And it's been really interesting. You might be wondering, has a lot changed? What changed? Well, as my buddy Flaky put it, and I really like how he put it, it's very different, not just because the environment is different, but that we ourselves are different, behaving differently. It just feels different at a more subtle level to be here talking to a webcam, trying to maintain eye contact, trying to make sure my mouth doesn't go away from the microphone, that sort of thing. Make sure the lighting is passable. That sort of thing. Screen sharing, a whole bunch of things change, and we as at least I've noticed over the months that I do behave differently. I I'll for example be maybe too self-conscious to have a cookie while while I'm doing something like this as I'm doing right now. I do love cookies though. Anyway, and with that, the community dynamics change a little bit too. For example, for study jams, we would always start with a catch up or introduction round. We would say, if somebody new joins, we would all go around and introduce ourselves, mention our interests. If people don't want to say much about themselves, they are, of course, not obligated to. This isn't some sort of, strict policy or anything like that. It just helps people feel included. And doing so online changes things a little bit in that, for example, we need to be very conscious about making sure a person gets enough time to speak. On the other hand, since this is online and internet connections can vary, we need to deal with that as well. More on that in a bit. And yeah, just being more conscious of how the dynamics work over the internet. For example, dealing with technical issues. Now, I'm sure a lot of you can relate that doing lots of video calls over the last few months have resulted in a few phrases almost becoming like a second nature, saying things like, I think you're muted, or, oh, looks like they lost their connection, or bark to your dog too, buddy. just kidding. I mean, but you know what I mean, right? So these things need to be scaled down in patience. We need to have patience with these internet connections. We need to understand that it's not the same for everybody involved. And I think that kind of brings into my next thing that I noticed, which was about dealing with long silences. So this is more of a personal thing. I'm not good at silences. So if I'm in a video call and everybody's quiet, I start sweating profusely because I start thinking like, oh gosh, especially if we're running the event like study jams, it's like, is somebody bored? Is everybody bored? Oh gosh. I get really nervous. But after going to the Hack and Learn, I noticed people were doing this too, just having some stretches of silence where people were clearly tippity tapping away at their laptops when I wasn't in charge anymore, and not, I don't know, I guess I didn't feel as nervous. It kind of gave me a moment and an opportunity to notice that people were fine. And when people wanted to talk again, they would chime in with, aren't pointers the worst? Or nothing against pointers. Or, I finally got my code to compile, or, it works, I did it, And it's just like in the offline event, there were stretches of time where we were silent. Maybe people were having a conversation off to the side, maybe while they were grabbing a cup of coffee or tea, that sort of thing. The other thing that we needed to be very careful with was enforcing our code of conduct. So we already had a code of conduct in place for study jams when we were offline, but when moving online, there were special things that we needed to take into consideration that perhaps maybe a volunteer can help with, like keeping an eye on chat when I'm having a conversation with someone, or making sure that keeping an eye on the voice chat, that people are behaving within the code of conduct. If people are wondering why we need a code of conduct, please check out this blog post from Ash Dryden. I think it puts it quite well. So, last thing that changed was, as I mentioned before, Study Jams is based in Vienna, but moving to the internet doesn't really keep it in Vienna anymore, does it? We've had people join in not just from Vienna, but from other countries, other cities, and special consideration needs to be taken there too for things like language, spoken language. Now, my German isn't great, but sometimes we would have conversations, maybe short ones in German. As I said, I could join in. My German's fine. Not going to go into that. And it's when people from other backgrounds are coming in, you need to take careful consideration. Okay, are these people comfortable speaking German? Probably not. Let's default to English, that sort of thing. Being clear and communicative about that is important. When it comes to more technical things, we need to look at things like collaborative note-taking. Now, this is something that I picked up from the Hack and Learn, and I really liked it, the concept. So what people are doing at things like the Hack and Learn is they'll put up a document where people can log in and share links. Maybe they talk about a library they found, and they just paste a link to it into this document, which gets left online, and months later you can go back through each one of them. They're kind of linked to the one before that for each session, and it's really handy. So I thought, wow, we got to try something like this for Study Jam. So when we were looking at a platform for it, we thought, okay, collaborative writing, Google Docs. We discussed Google Docs briefly, and the conclusion we came to was not everybody has a Google account. Some people don't want to use a Google account. We didn't know this at the time. Apparently, it is possible to contribute to a Google Doc if the creator makes it available for that. I didn't. We ended up going with another platform, which the Hack and Learn introduced us to, which is called HackMD. The MD stands for Markdown, so that was exciting for me. I love writing Markdown, and just like Google Docs, you can see while people are typing in. You can have your lists. You can have your typical Markdown goodness, and yeah, we really liked it. It was very gratifying. You might have noticed, okay, if somebody doesn't know Markdown, there's also, you can see at the top of the left column there, there's also some rich text editing available for you that will insert Markdown for things like bold text and lists and so on. So that's text. What about video or voice chat? Now, we spent a day, I'm going to show you a screenshot from my computer, where we were trying, as you can see here, 3 different video chat or voice chat platforms. We were busy. Before we go into it, just a quick note on Zoom. We ended up not going on Zoom due to us being a nonprofit community. We were a bit worried about security. I'd experienced at a couple meetups where people were keeping searches on Twitter for Zoom links and then would jump in with a bunch of other people and do malicious things. I think it's called Zoom bombing or something. I wasn't very enthusiastic about it, so we ended up going with another platform. The first we tried was Jitsi Meet. So if you're not familiar with Jitsi Meet, it's an open platform that you can install on any server and then set up to do WebRTC communication. WebRTC standing for real-time communication. Yeah. What's cool about it is that it runs, all of the video chat is done entirely on the browser. So all the server does is set up the initial connection, and then it's like, all right, I'm out, which was pretty cool. I really like that. And yeah, we would join in. Of course, there's got to be a cute dog. And we were just having a very relaxed time. It was very familiar. It's like your Google Hangouts. It's like your Google Meet. It's like your other platforms that I'm forgetting, that I'm blanking on the names right now. And you can do screen sharing. You can have your chat. Very nice. It was having some trouble with Firefox around March or April. From what I understand, it got better over time. Yeah, it's perfectly fine for our group size. We tend to have between 5 and 10 people join in. Sometimes we have 2, sometimes we have more. From what I understand, maybe try not to put 100 people on it, since it can start weighing on the browsers. So that's Jitsi Meet. Then we thought, let's check out some other things. Maybe something a little more interactive in terms of a 3D space, maybe. Have you heard of Mozilla Hubs? I've been hearing a lot about Mozilla Hubs in the last year, and I thought, wow, this is the perfect opportunity to try something like this. So, as it says here, it's a virtual room that you can share with friends. It runs on your browser and lets you do VR if you're so inclined. I don't have a VR headset, so we did it. We just ran around in a browser, and it's a lot of fun. I'm the fox here. And it's a virtual space where you can hang out, you can place objects, you can if you're on VR, you can move around like this and move your hands and draw on the in the sky. There's what we took here. This picture you see here was taken with a built-in selfie camera in Mozilla Hubs. They're adding a ton of stuff, and it's pretty open too, so you can upload your own 3D models for your characters. And what I liked about it is that it kind of removed the immediate need to have video chat. If people don't feel comfortable being on video chat, you can still have a conversation with a person looking at their avatar. That's not to say that there isn't video chat, and I apologize. We were just playing around and somehow my face just draped the entire world. Yeah, so you can see Santa is kind of terrified of me there. The other thing that was really interesting about Mozilla Hubs is that it introduced me to the concept of spatialized voice chat. Sounds very scientific. And what it is kind of like in real life. What's lost in video chat is that what's lost in your everyday video chat is that you can't really walk off to the side and talk to somebody because everybody can hear every microphone feed, right? So in spatialized voice chat, the concept is that the closer you are to another person's avatar, the better they can hear you, the louder the sound coming from your avatar is. So it's you have an origin of audio in a 3D space, right? And this worked really well for study jams. So what you see here is we're hanging out with a couple of 3D pugs and we hung out in this little auditorium, our own little conference, and we just put up the HackMD there and just put in links because you can screen share and just sort of move this screen in the 3D world and place it in a place that makes sense for your fellow attendees and just be like, check it out. This is what I've been working on. You can share your screen and put up your IDE, your terminal. It's really a fascinating concept. However, we did run into some problems. Some of the people, so when you're using Mozilla Hubs from the browser without a VR, you're controlling a character with your mouse and keyboard like you would a first-person video game. Example, Portal. I love Portal. And, you use the W, S, A, and D keys to move around. You use your mouse to move your orientation of your face. And people who had we had a couple of people join in who has less experience with this kind of medium saying, where am I? Where's my avatar? I can't see my avatar. They're moving their mouse and they can't see themselves. And of course, I trying to deliver that trying to drive home that the reason you can't see yourself is because you're looking at the world through your character's eyes. I tried holding up a mirror to this person's face. It's like, check it out. That's you, but that's a reflection. It's tricky. And also, being 3D, being so, let's say, demanding in terms of hardware, a couple of people did say, this is nice and all, but can we just have like a 2D experience? And I remembered, hold on, that's what they did at the Hack and Learn. At the Hack and Learn, they showed me something called the Online Town, which conceptually is pretty similar to Hubs, but with a lot of bells and whistles taken away. Not to criticize those bells and whistles, but just it's a little more bare bones in that you have what you see here is 4 avatars hanging out in the center. Each of those avatars is surrounded by, they have an outline that corresponds to a color. That color corresponds to a tag you can see here on the right. And those colors also correspond to a video chat that's at the bottom. So each of us sets up a character and we're let loose in this 2D environment. Kind of gave me a Pokemon vibe, old school Pokemon, I should say. And we would just hang out there and chat. And just like Mozilla Hubs, it used spatialized chat. Interestingly, so not only would, when you go further away, your microphone feed would get quieter, but so would the video fade out. Interesting idea. So the further away I am, the more blurred out my camera looks. And, if you want to take a good look at my feed, your character has to come closer. Couple caveats. There's no screen sharing. it's been a while. I don't remember if it had text chat. I think it did. However, there are alternatives. The Hack and Learn also showed me something called gather.town, which is similar concept, except it also has things like screen sharing. So when we were trying all of these out and thinking and taking notes and reflecting on the other platforms we were playing with, the question started to crop up. We were four that day. We were four people that day. Did we really need specialized chat for four people? So, and the four of us kind of went like, not really in this context. We're just four people. We're fine. Like, I guess it's nice to have the option, but on that day, we just ended up going back to Jitsi Meet. And since then, depending on the context, we jump between Jitsi Meet and Online Town, or, trying out other things. More on those later. So is that all of the options we have to run a study group online? What I'm trying to say here is absolutely not. Not only are there other options, other possibilities. For example, there's a Jitsi plugin called Kala that is kind of similar in concept to Online Town and Gather Town, in that you have spatialized chat with little avatars walking around. Do we need screen sharing? Probably not. We have Visual Studio Code Live Share, which allows people to share a workspace in Visual Studio Code by logging in remotely to an instance, kind of like a shared Tmux instance. That's a little more that's a little more old school, I guess. I haven't done that in a while. And what's nice about that is that you don't need to worry about sharing your whole screen or messing around with which window to share, because all you do is you put out a link for Visual Studio Code Live Share, and people just log in using their instance of Visual Studio Code. They can keep their themes, they can keep their plugins. I think I saw it in action at the Hack and Learn, but I don't use Visual Studio Code that much, if I'm honest. Anyway, but it was really cool what I saw. And the last thing that I saw that I was introduced to is at a meetup, at an online meetup. It's called Rambly. Now, I like video games. Maybe you can tell. And one of my favorite video games is Earthbound. And when I saw this platform called Rambly, and I could choose a character, I could hash my spatialized chat. The graphics rung a bell. They look like Earthbound. Anyway, that's just something fun I found. Check it out if you want. It's super cute. When doing these, having been doing this for a while, I want to also stress, did we figure out the perfect formula for doing study groups online? No. So the thing is that now that this need to be remote is kind of motivating folks to try out new ideas, to really experiment and develop new concepts, just thinking outside the box when it comes to interacting with people through the internet. Maybe one thing that I've kind of felt is what started out as an effort for me to make it feel like what you see here, people hanging out in real life, really should be more of trying to match something that looks more like this, hanging out in a 3D environment. Here's a couple of links that I've been gathering over through this talk. Check them out. If you have any questions, if you want to talk to me, I'm Hola soy milk on Twitter. It's a bad joke. It means hello, I am milk in Spanish. Yeah, I'm so thankful for you to listening to me. I hope you enjoy the rest of HalfStack and have a wonderful day. Thank you.
You are live. All right. Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, everyone. Welcome. These are our podcast style, hallway track style interviewees, Joe, Tony, and I'm Dylan. And welcome, Ramon. Thanks for the amazing chat and the talk.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
So I think the funniest part was during your session that people noticed was that, like, live transcription or recorded transcription is really cool, but once in a while it gets things a little bit off, which is pretty funny. What were
Yeah.
some of the challenges in getting that working just right as a speaker?
Well, so I actually had to start up the re-recording a couple times because, for example, if I tried to say HalfStack, it would say instead. Can I say this live?
Yeah.
Half-assed.
We should rename the conference that, and we should run it on Juicy Meat as a platform. It'll be great.
Yeah, as somebody noticed on the transcription, it was instead of Jitsi Meat, it was Juicy Meat. Yeah, there's a lot of those. At some point I wanted to say, thank you for having me on this fun conference, and it put it to funny conference, and I'm like, that's not the level of professionalism I want to convey.
So what were you actually using to do the subtitling then?
Oh, yeah, good question. So what I was using to present right now was Google Slides, and Google Slides has a live closed captioning service built in. So
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. I do believe it uses the internet to do it, so you can't do it offline, sadly, but if you're doing live stuff, you got to be online anyway. So, yeah, it's really cool. I think it's only available in English at the moment, but it uses all of its machine learning goodness to do those transcriptions. And it's not only Google Slides that offers it. PowerPoint from Microsoft does that as well. Yeah. It has built-in transcribing. Unfortunately, Apple's Keynote, last time I checked, does not.
Still does not. Yeah.
That still does not. There you go. So yeah, we'll see what comes from that. I think Zoom has that too now. I attended an event where they had built-in Zoom live captioning, so it's coming. Doesn't beat the real thing, but it's getting there.
Be nice. I think there's a startup in there to be able to do live captioning for online conferences. I think if anybody out there wants to start that business up, I think you've got 4 customers waiting right here for you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And there's some really good ones out there. I'm a big fan of white code captioning. They've been doing all of the Ruby conferences that I've been attending. We did an online women tech makers conference here in Vienna, and we used them, and they are stellar. Gosh, all this online remote stuff is such an opportunity to learn about all of these things like captioning, how this works, how YouTube Lives has a post endpoint where you can post the captions and then they're built into YouTube. How it's not that well built into YouTube because they try to
lags a little and it's a little off. Yeah.
It's a little janky. Like they try to use their intelligence to like figure out when a person is talking and show the subtitles then and then quickly take them away or something like that. But I mean, this is done through stream text, so you can watch the stream text. That's streamtext.net, I believe. Transcription. So it's super interesting. I'm learning so much from all this. I'm sure Dylan, you know all about audio levels and pre-recordings and all that.
I know enough and not nearly enough. And I'm remembering that I had a nice note somewhere in my to-do list to like get captioning working for this event, and I just totally spaced it.
It's so much to do for an online conference, and you're all doing such a wonderful job. So I'm very grateful.
Yeah, thank you. I have a question for you. Like, I mean, last time we talked, it was May, and we had all been locked down for a couple months, and it was like, this is almost over. And now it's like, wow, this could go on for a long, long time. How's that? I mean, like, you and I both work from home, so that's pretty normal. But like the not leaving home very often to me has been pretty strange. What about for you? How's it been going?
Yeah, it's. I think you nailed it, Dylan. It's been strange. Like from working from home, as I said, I think last time we spoke as well. Yes, nothing has changed from a physical location standpoint, but spiritually, it feels different. I'm very lucky that I live with my wife, and so she was working from home, and I had someone to have coffee with. That was nice. But not being able to I think it was this or last month that I really started missing seeing people. That I started thinking like, gosh, I gotta. On the plus point, I have gotten much better at reaching out to people and being like, it's been a year. How are you?
Yeah, I've done a lot of that. That's been really good. Yeah.
Yeah. Usually terrible.
It's funny is I used to only drink coffee when I truly needed it, which was usually every time I'd have a HalfStack event in real life. And around June, I said, you know what? I need an excuse to leave the house every day. I'm gonna go get a coffee every day, and I started drinking coffee. And I don't really need it, but it's just kind of I'm already like at level 11 when I wake up, but now I'm like level 12, so it's great.
I imagine you're caffeinated today.
I'm not yet. It'll arrive in a couple hours. When the event starts at like 5 a.m., I guess Starbucks might be open, but like the coffee shop I want to go to isn't open yet and stuff. So.
Oh, our coffee machine died a few weeks ago, so we had a bit of a crisis, especially for an event like this. I'm like, no, we need something. We need something. So fortunately, we're all set. It's almost 2 p.m. here, so
yeah,
coffee has been had.
The other thing I've been doing is just like constantly rebuilding stuff in my office. Like, I think I've replaced everything in the office except like the window since the lockdown started.
Oh yeah, I know that the tinkering has been going on here too. We've been reorganizing our home and our home offices immensely. Because I can't help myself, I also got a new keyboard.
Nice. Wow.
Nice.
And I'm loving this because it has brown switches, which I don't know what that means, but it feels really nice.
That's cool. I noticed you seem to have a bit of a spider infestation behind you as well.
Yes, it's a problem. The timing is great, but I can't seem to get it under control.
Nice.
And I love that all of you are getting festive as well.
Of course.
Tony's like, that CSS to HTML joke is scary all year round, but especially at Halloween. So.
Yeah, I think we might find that things improve and get more spooky here over the day.
It is nice when the background changes throughout the day. It's kind of like constantly upgrading.
Time for a few quick trips to the Halloween box.
Nice. Well, we have another minute or so. I just want to say thanks for joining us. And I also want to mention that Ramon has another short segment later in the day about Clappy Mike, I think. Clappy Mike, is that right? Yeah.
That's it. I am terrible at names.
I think it's like the Blue's Clues, like the name is very literal rather than like being abstract, and I think that's great. So
I originally wanted to call the project Easy Clap, which is kind of like a game, something from online games, but it's kind of a nasty term, so
it sounded like it might have different meanings. Yeah.
Sound like nah.
Well, on that note, I think we'll happy you chose. Happy you chose the name you chose.
Absolutely.
Cool. All right, thanks, Ramon, and I'll see you all soon.
Thanks a lot. Take care. Hey HalfStack, Ramon here hanging out with some spooky friends. Let me tell you a little bit about this project I've been working on. It's a lot of fun and pretty silly. What happened was, it was a weekend and I'm watching TV on the sofa or playing a video game or something, and I was thinking to myself about these online events that have been taking place lately and how much fun they are. You've probably been attending quite a few yourself, including this one. And I thought, one thing that I do miss is being able to be in the audience and give a big hearty round of applause for a speaker or a workshop leader, and how that translates into the online experience, be it by mimicking a clap into the video chat if they can see you. You want to mimic it because you're muted and you don't want to distract the other person, or being able to type in little clap emojis into the chat. My thing with that is I'm not very good at finding emojis. Don't ask me why. I don't know. I just struggle to find the clap emoji every time. So I thought, hey, wouldn't it be funny and fun if I could just physically loud clap into my microphone, and then the computer would automatically send a clap emoji into whichever chat app I'm in. And I thought of that, and I thought of my buddy Charlie, who gave a talk at the last HalfStack. And she's always doing these cool experiments, and she always says, useless is not worthless. So I DM'd her and I said, Charlie, I've got this idea. It seems kind of silly. What do you think? And she was all over. She was like, I love this. This is hilarious. I would recommend that you do it with machine learning using this platform called Teachable Machine. Full disclosure, I'm not a machine learning expert by any means. This was kind of the first experience I had with it, properly trying some machine learning stuff. And what Teachable Machine does is it allows you to set up these classification machine learning models directly in your browser. So that was pretty cool, I thought. And you can see in this demo reel, you can do it with video, but what I also found out is that it allows you to do it with audio, which is perfect because I want to be clapping loud and clear for myself. So what you see here is Teachable Machine with a model that my partner and I trained to recognize claps. So there's two classifications, background noise and claps. So if we look at background noise, you'll see that we recorded 80 audio samples of just random things. Cars driving by, some chatter between the two of us, maybe clearing a throat, having a drink, typing on the keyboard, tapping the table, I don't know. Lots of different sounds so that the model knew for sure what a clap is. So then came the claps and we just recorded ourselves clapping a whole bunch of times. Definitely didn't get annoying. So after that, we push this button. I already clicked it for the purposes of this demo. It trains the model, and then it's ready to be tried out. So I'm going to turn on the microphone here. And what you see here is it is using that model in real time to try and determine if the sounds that I'm making at this moment, me talking, are claps. Now, you'll notice that sometimes it's definitely jumping a lot. The percentages denote how certain the model is that it is a clap or a background noise. So right now, me talking, it's pretty sure that it's not a clap. Sometimes it jumps over and, well, guess I should have provided better samples. Well, so let's see what happens now if I actually start clapping properly. So what happened is it recognized that it was a clap and started saying, oh yeah, I'm pretty sure that this is clapping. So once I have this model, Teachable Machine allows me to export it and use it in my apps. It even allows you to upload it and share it as an online resource. Now, what's cool is that it provides some code snippets. I love me some code snippets, especially for a silly demo. And it allows me to do it with JavaScript or p5.js. P5 being a creative coding environment for JavaScript. So, and what's cool is this is an HTML model. It's got a HTML file that I can just copy. There we go. Set up some scripts. It uses TensorFlow and sets up the model and then does some interaction so that when it hears a clap, it'll show those percentages. You'll see what I mean in a moment. But it provides all this code for me that I can immediately start using. And that's what I did. So in this, let me just close this. In this tab here, I've got a copy of that HTML file. And it's running the exact same model. So background noise, pretty certain. Claps, not so much. Start clapping. Pretty certain that's a clap now. Not bad. So I've got my front end, let's say, but I still need to take care of the part of telling the computer that, hey, a clap was recognized. Please type in a clap emoji and send it. And I thought the best way to do this was by automating the keyboard. So keyboard, type in clap emoji, type in enter, boom, done. That way I can do that on any app that I've got a cursor on a text field. So doing some research, I thought, well, since we have already done some JavaScript, let's stay with JavaScript, make a Node.js app, a little express.js server, and have this front end send an HTTP request to that express.js server and have it type out the clap. Now, in order to do that actual typing, I found this, robot.js, which, as it says, is a desktop automation library. That sounds like exactly what I need. So much so that when I looked at some examples, it is pretty much exactly what I need. In this example, it imports the library, types in hello world, and then presses enter. Now, swap out that hello world for a clap emoji and I'm done. And that's exactly what I did. So, as said, Express.js server, it catches a post request or a get request saying, hey, I just got a clap. Then the Express.js server running on Node will call robot.js and send in my clap emoji. And it worked. However, having an Express server and sending requests around, it didn't quite make sense. It was kind of overkill, I thought. So I showed it to Charlie and I said, what do you think? And she said, well, why don't you make it with Electron? And I thought, that makes sense. Now, I don't have a lot of experience with Electron. I know that it's kind of wrapping web apps into an executable for Mac OS or Windows or Linux using Chromium. And I thought, okay, that makes sense. I can keep my HTML file and have a Node.js backend. That makes a ton of sense. So much so that that's what I did. So that's what I'm going to show you now. So let's look at our HTML first. You'll see it's mostly familiar. Don't worry too much about details. I kind of spruced it up a little bit, added some cute text. If you're happy and you know it, press the button, and added a little button to start listening. So then in line 15, this is where the differences come in. I imported something called IPC renderer from Electron. IPC, in case you're curious, stands for Interprocess Communication. That's what's going to let me communicate between the front end, i.e. this HTML file, and the back end, being the Node instance running inside Electron. I also define a tolerance. This is how certain I want to be that a clap is a clap. And I'm pretty strict, 90%. So scroll down. Over here, we're defining, okay, if something that I listen to is above the tolerance, that is, if I'm 90% sure that that sound was a clap, send it to Electron saying, hey, new clap message, it's a clap. I gotta improve that. So let's jump over to the Node app, and you'll see, if you're familiar with Electron, a lot of this is pretty similar to what a starter app would look like. I define a window, give it a resolution, a pretty small resolution. I made it semi-transparent so that it floats on, because I want it to float on top. More on that in a moment. And provide Node integration. I set up permissions so that macOS doesn't block me from using the microphone. And once that's all done, it shows the index.html file. Then these bunch of lines here are what really matter. So this is the callback that will get called when the IPC renderer on the front end says, hey, I got a clap. And what it does is it logs a little clap into the logs, and then this is where robot.js takes over. It types in that emoji and presses enter. So looks pretty good. You'll notice that I'm trying to make it work on Windows. It's not quite there yet. Right now, this Clappy Mic toy really only runs on macOS. So I gotta work on that. But all right, well, you might be wondering, okay, I think the technology looks solid. Does it work? And hold on, I think I have, yes, here we go. Ooh, what's this? Hello, it's the app running. Well, let's give it a try. So if you're happy and you know it, press the button. Well, I am, so let's do. So let me just set myself up here. Let's give it a try. Yeah, not bad. Well, I'm going to stop that so I don't accidentally send more claps. I'm not one to toot my own horn, but I will clap for myself occasionally. Yeah, so there it is. And I've been using this throughout some of these online events that I've been attending, sometimes loudly, sometimes not. And it's been a ton of fun. Big thank you to Charlie for, showing me the way. And the reason I'm showing you this is because I had a ton of fun doing so. And I think those ideas that you have that you think, I couldn't do that, I'm not experienced in X, Y, or Z, you totally can. Give it a try. You know, reach out to people. People love helping. Of course, with respect, with reason. And yeah, thanks so much. Enjoy the rest of HalfStack.